Outer space is a vast and mysterious place that's difficult to fully understand. Its sheer size is incomprehensible, but humans are doing the best they can to figure it out. From extended space travel being able to alter your genetics, to the strange things that go on in our solar system, here are the most mysterious facts about space. But first, we'd like to give a quick shout out to Todd Ricky for leaving us this comment. In our Unbelievable Things Owned by the Rockefellers video, we asked you guys if you thought Jay-Z had some kind of connection with the Illuminati or secret societies. He could certainly be throwing out that symbol with his hands. Alright, now let's get on to the video. Number 14. Jupiter's red spot. One of the biggest mysteries in our solar system is this giant, never-ending storm in Jupiter, which is big enough to fit 2 or 3 Earth-sized planets inside. Not only is it simply massive, but it's also been going on for the past 300 years. Winds here get to be about 400 miles per hour and put Mars windstorms to shame. The infrared system on the James Webb Telescope gives us some insight onto why it changes its size. It turns out that recently, the spot is actually getting smaller. In 2014, the red spot was only about 10,250 miles in diameter, which is about the size at its peak. You can clearly tell the size differences between 1995 to about 20 years later. It stayed about the same size since 2014. Number 13. Comet on the Bayeux Tapestry. Halley's Comet is our most well-known comet, and it travels around our solar system in 75 to 76 years. It's very rare to witness this kind of thing, let alone trying to catch a photo of it. In 1986, this ball of dust and ice was caught on camera by Giotto, a European spacecraft. It's very rare to see the nucleus of this comet in such detail. The orbital pass of this comet is quite strange, and it goes against the orbital pass of Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. It speeds up quite drastically when it gets closer to the Sun in the inner solar system. The comet was even seen in 1066 and recorded on the Bayeux Tapestry. The next return of the Halley's Comet is in 2061, so if you missed it already, good luck living till then. Number 12. Space Travel DNA. Believe it or not, extended space travel can actually change your DNA. An astronaut spent an entire year at an international space station, and when he got back to Earth, he managed to increase his height by 2 inches. Seems like a pricey alternative to leg lengthening surgery. Scientists were surprised to find out that his gut bacteria was totally different and his gene expression had changed. It turns out that the body responded to the stress of space travel by the changes in his cells' biological pathways. Number 11. Neptune radiating heat. The planet of Neptune is extremely far away from the Sun, about 2.79 billion miles away. To put that into perspective, Earth is only about 93 million miles away. When it manages to absorb the sun's heat, the surface on a hot day might be around negative 218 degrees Celsius. It also manages to form 2 things, methane and diamond. As the diamond sinks into the planet, it releases energy in the form of heat. What's strange about all this is not only the diamond rain that goes on here, but also that Neptune manages to release 2.6 times as much heat on its own than heat it receives from the sun. Number 10. Olympus Mons. Allow us to take a quick trip to the planet of Mars to discuss the largest geological structure in the solar system. It's known as Olympus Mons, and you can see it rather clearly in this image, popping out of the surface. This was captured by the Phoenix Mars lander in 2008, and this volcano rises 13.6 miles high. Although the slopes aren't too steep, with that much size at the base, it wouldn't be clear theoretically for a person to know when they reach the summit. The slope of the volcano would cover up a horizon even if it was on a clear day. The real mystery about this place is if it could still be active or not. Scientists feel as though right now, Olympus Mons is just dormant and might be taking a quick break before it erupts again. Oh yeah, and maybe there's aliens, who knows. Number 9. Io eruptions. You probably look up to the moon and think to yourself that it's basically a dead wasteland with no geothermal activity, and you're probably right, but moons of other planets might be a little bit different. Jupiter's moon, Io, for example, is full of volcanic life, and it's considered to be the most active geothermal moon in the solar system. The moon has hundreds of active volcanoes, which can send plumes of ash 250 miles into the sky. Since Io is exposed to so much gravity from Jupiter, it causes more activity, and new ones can be created quite rapidly. This one shoots out lava, but that's not always the case for all volcanoes. Number 8. Space can make you taller. Ever wish there was somewhere you can go where you could just be a little bit taller? Well, it turns out that people are actually naturally taller without gravity pushing us down all the time. It turns out that it's gravity that's really keeping us down, folks. Astronauts have reported growing 3% of their own body height in a zero-gravity environment. So let's say if you're about 6 foot 1 inches tall, you will grow about 2 inches. It turns out that your spine freely expands in outer space, which wouldn't typically happen anywhere else. It's been studied before using ultrasound to get a better idea exactly how it happens. Number 7. The smell of space. Now, of course, astronauts can't float around in outer space and smell what it's like out there. They can, however, smell their spacesuits afterwards, and it's not entirely BO that they're smelling. Space has a very distinct smell to it that us Earthlings might not be aware of. Some describe it as burning steak, as well as hot metal or welding fumes. Nothing you really want to wear for cologne. Astronauts will certainly tell you that it's different from anything else. Some would even describe it as sulfurous, strangely enough. One theory states that the smell comes from high-energy vibration particles and then they're brought back inside the space shuttle, which mix with the air. Number 6. Tough shuteye. If you thought about being an astronaut, you might want to keep in mind that getting some much-needed shuteye isn't always an easy thing. First of all, astronauts in orbit typically have to deal with sunrise every 90 minutes, which will tend to wake up passengers. Second of all, they must make sure that they're properly strapped into their sleeping apparatus to keep them from floating all over the place. Their arms and head tend to be what floats around most of the time at night. It would also be like sleeping in a straitjacket, but with less gravity. One space explorer talked about how they would wake up and see an arm floating around in front of them. Later on, they realized, oh yeah, that's my arm. Number 5. Onboard recycling. NASA's discoveries don't always come in the form of new planets or water in strange places, but occasionally, they'll make revolutionary discoveries to help astronauts survive in space. Advancements have been made to allow astronauts to actually drink their own pee. How can people actually survive like this? Everything is filtered out, but still. The agency came up with what's known as forward osmosis, which is a technology to allow this extreme form of recycling. Urine filters require tons of electricity, but in the end, it's one heck of a feat of engineering. It apparently still tastes sugary and sweet, so drink up. Number 4. Antimatter. How could something with a name like antimatter actually exist? Well, it's basically the opposite of normal matter, if that makes sense. In antimatter, the electrons are positively charged and the protons are negatively charged. They believe that antimatter was released during the Big Bang. It's by far the most expensive substance to create, which costs about $100 billion to make 1 milligram of antimatter. Despite the cost, this doesn't stop organizations like NASA from trying to produce antimatter. So what's it look like? Good question. It's best to look at it from an atomic level until enough is produced to observe exactly what it looks like. Some believe that this substance will actually give us powers to reach other galaxies. Number 3. No one will hear you scream. If you're looking for a perfect place to commit a crime, outer space seems to have its advantages, especially since no one will hear a scream. Since space is a vacuum, there isn't supposed to be a whole lot of noise. Despite the stars rumbling occasionally, there isn't molecules for noise to travel through. Sound on Earth requires vibrating air molecules, which are lacking in outer space. There's some air in the space shuttle, so some noise can travel. The astronauts doing a spacewalk, though, won't hear anything. Number 2. Astronaut quarantine. Scientists didn't really understand too well what was on the moon, and no one knew for sure if the astronauts who went to the moon would bring back some kind of horrible brain-eating virus. The photo shows Richard Nixon on the right side greeting the space crew who are finally back to Earth. Keeping them in this quarantine also prevents the citizens from panicking if someone got sick. Seems like the government was quite worried about microbes, even though they deny the existence of aliens. They seem to have some good reasoning though, since scientists are beginning to believe that the flu actually came from space. There's also evidence as well. Large portions of dust were deposited into the atmosphere from comets around the same time people started noticing symptoms of the flu. And before we get to our number 1, let us know in the comments section what you find to be the most mysterious thing about outer space, and maybe we'll feature you in an upcoming video. Number 1. The furthest man-made objects. Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 were launched from Earth in 1977, and their primary mission was to reach Saturn and Jupiter. Strangely enough, Voyager 2 was launched before Voyager 1, both aboard a Titan Centaur rocket. While Voyager 2 decided to go on and see Neptune and Uranus, Voyager 1 had made it into interstellar space. The probe made it further away from Earth than the distance between the Sun and Pluto. Eventually, Voyager 2 would make it out of our solar system and into interstellar space as well. Both aircraft are working just fine as of now, more than 40 years later. What's also interesting about these man-made objects is that Voyager 1 is equipped with a golden record that will relay electronic messages to intelligent life forms. Is it a bad idea to let aliens know of our existence? Let us know in the comments section, and maybe we'll feature you in an upcoming video. Hey guys, if you haven't noticed already, we're almost at 1 million subscribers, so remember to smash that subscribe button.